Is your business protected against the threat of malicious litigation and frivolous lawsuits? Bottled Business Sense provides practical business perspectives that uniquely emphasize legal strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. And whether you're trying to provide a startup business with some level of stability or an established business with foolproof asset and estate protection, Bill Bernard will expose potential pitfalls to ensure the security and growth of your business, free from unwanted expense and the threat of litigation. You'll learn how to implement protection tools equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Let's join Bill for today's Bottled Business Sense show.
Hi folks, Bill Bernard at WFB Legal Consulting with a Bottled Business Sense show dealing with employment and employers, of course, because they're an integral part of employment. So we're going to talk a little bit about work-related injuries. Can my employer fire me for a work-related injury is the topic today. Before we get started, Bottled Business Sense show can be found on any social media site, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+. Just Google it and you'll find us. blogtalkradio.com, punch in Bottled Business Sense show. You can listen to audio, download it, listen to it at your leisure. BottledBusinessSenseShow.com. You can watch the live show video and audio. WFBLegalConsulting.com. There's a drop-down window where you can click on Bottled Business Sense Show and again watch any show of your choosing. We provide free information. We're hoping that this will be helpful to business owners. We do it in the area of business law, which encompasses estate planning, employment law, and of course asset protection and the development of various business entities for our business owners. So can my employer fire me due to a work-related injury? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. It's illegal, of course, for your employer to fire you for a work-related injury on the job or for filing a workers' compensation claim in any way, shape, or form. You must believe that your injury was caused as a result of the job, performing on the job, and of course that will all be investigated and all be dealt with the workers' compensation insurance carrier, which your employer is required to have by law. This really is a discriminatory action. If your employer, takes something offensive or abusive out on you as a consequence of a work-related injury, it's part and parcel of discrimination. And it also ties into various other federal acts, which we're not going to get into on this show, which would be the Family Medical Leave Act, the California Family Rights Act, and of course the Americans with Disabilities Act. Those come in as a tie-in should you have an ongoing problem and need to come back to work after the injury or need to take time off as a result of the injury, what we're going to talk about here today is workers' compensation benefits in and of themselves. Remember that other types of assistance could be state disability insurance if you're injured on the job. In some cases, benefits will be paid by the Employment Development Department when workers' compensation payments are delayed or even denied. You might want to look into that state disability, or what's typically called SDI. You pay it by way of your taxes, and it should be listed on your pay stub. Social Security disability benefits is another one where U.S. Social Security Administration for total disability pays benefits. That these benefits may be reduced, however, by any workers' compensation benefits you received beforehand. But should you become permanently disabled, you're definitely going to want to look into that as a recourse to be able to recoup some money. Benefits offered by employers also include sick leave, group health insurance, long-term disability insurance. Those types of things all need to be investigated by way of your employer to see if those are available to you, because those are alternatives to workers' compensation, or can work in conjunction in some cases with workers' compensation as a means of recovering some financial assistance if you're injured on the job. And of course, a claim or a lawsuit can be filed should there be no workers' compensation coverage, or you can go to the to the state and file a claim. Then what happens is typically the state will take over and make payments on behalf of the employer under some sort of situations. And that will then be dealt with by the state toward your employer if and when the state has to do that. But you always have recourse should you have to file some sort of a lawsuit where there is no coverage available. Also, your employer is required to post information about your workers' compensation rights in a visible place on the job site. Usually you'll find this in the break room or the coffee room or somewhere where employees congregate. That has to be posted by law. If your employer or insurer created a medical provider network, which typically referred to as an MPN, the employer or insurer is required to give you written information about the rights, procedures, and services while being treated within that network. Some employers have this network set up. You want to check that out, find out if it's available. Why? Because, again, you're entitled to be advised of your rights under those kind of circumstances. So these postings have to occur. And the employer or insurer may create one of these MPNs, or medical provider networks, to be able to provide you actual written information consistent with workers' compensation laws. You have the right to request and receive copies of all medical reports that affect your benefits. Don't let anybody dissuade you from this. You have a right to seek these reports once treatment begins, so you can find out exactly what is being ascertained about your condition. And finally, you have a right to have another person present during a medical examination by way of a workers' compensation claim, or to tape record the examination. And you should tell your physician if you plan to tape record the examination. Remember, when you make a workers' compensation claim, typically you're going to go to a doctor that's provided by way of the insurance carrier, providing the workers' compensation insurance to your employer. But you have certain rights under those conditions, because obviously there may be some chance that somebody working for the insurance company is going to try to find that your injury may be less serious than maybe what it really is, or what you at least suspect it is. So all of these things are very critical to understand, and to make sure that you need to follow up with this and understand your rights. Also, look in an employee handbook. If your employer has an employee handbook, and they should, if the company is set up properly by the employer's business attorney, an employee handbook should be available, which will lay out all of your rights and your obligations as an employee of this particular facility or company. That is very, very important. Typically, you might know, you might recall, if you do have an employee handbook, where you sign off when you get the employee handbook saying that you have received it, so you can't say later on you didn't. And typically now, a lot of employers put in there that you actually have received it and read it. You are acknowledging that, in effect, you will read it, so you know what your rights are and you know what your obligations are as part of your employment with this company or with your employer. So remember to inquire about these benefits. You can always go to various websites, California state websites. All you got to do is Google California workers' compensation. A whole array of stuff will come up for you to look at and to explore. So again, I hope this has been somewhat helpful for you. Again, if you're looking for us, Bottle Business Sense Show, just Google us. You'll find us all over the place. BottleBusinessSenseShow.com is the easiest one to remember. But again, we're on all social media sites. So until we see you next time with a new episode, I wish you well, and go get them. Have a great, Thanksgiving is coming up. Have a great Thanksgiving, and also make sure that that you feel secure in your job. See a lawyer if you have any questions, because this is important stuff, and you have a right to be protected in any job that you undertake. Okay? Take care, folks, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.